Welcome, Caleb's Basketball Pod. We saw Game 7 of the NBA Finals last night. Really good game. Much as I said, it came down to OKC plays different in Oklahoma than they do in Indiana. That's what we saw. We saw a lot more OKC style basketball. We saw a big game from Chet. He had 3 or 4 blocks. Huge game from him, both ends of the floor. Jalen Williams proved he is the number 2, which is what I've been saying. I said it before the playoffs when everyone was talking about OKC and they have to get Chet as the number 2. I kept saying Jalen Williams is the number 2. And I don't think there's any arguing that, especially at this point. SGA even said it's as much of his finals MVP as it's SGA's himself. That's how big of a role Jalen Williams played in this NBA Finals series. We also saw maybe the series could have gone different. The game would have been probably closer if we did see Tyrese Halliburton go down in the fourth quarter, and prayers for a speedy recovery. We know now it's torn Achilles tendon in that right leg, and that sucks. The season he was having, it really sucks that it ends like this. And it's also looking like we're going to start next season, unfortunately, without Dame Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Tyrese Halliburton, all from Achilles tears. And that just sucks. That's unfortunate. And I'm wishing a speedy recovery to all 3 men. I most definitely did not want to see things end this way for Halliburton, because what he was doing in the playoffs and those big clutch shots, it was historic. And the fact he didn't even finish it, and I'm not saying they would have won if he did, but at least have a shot to change it, to change that narrative, to win this game, bring it home for Indiana. It's just a sucky situation. But like SGA said, that's sports. It's competitive. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it to. But that's how sports goes. It can be frustrating at times. But Indiana, I thought they did a good job of keeping the game close. I thought their biggest mistake was letting the game get too far out of hand. We saw pressure being put on OKC. That pressure probably should have been put on OKC when the fourth quarter started. Instead, the pressure didn't come till about 7:50 left in the game. And we saw it force some turnovers. We saw 11-1-1. where it got the game back down to single digits or close to single digits, and that was huge, but I just thought it was too much too late. I thought that they should have started like that in the fourth, and you were backs against the wall, you without your best player. I think the only way you really had a shot was by playing that way and double teaming and trapping and trying and full court pressing hard. Aggressively, very hard full court presses. I thought that's how you win the game, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough at the end. And OKC knew what was going to happen. They knew when they were up 20, the game was far from over. We didn't see any adjustments in the lineup. Great job by Mark Daigneault. I thought amazing coaching. He didn't change anything. They went up. He changed the style very little bit. I didn't care for the slowing the game down a little bit more, but I know maybe that's a strategy against a team that plays for these comebacks. But even then, he didn't change much. He kept his guys in there. He kept the lineup he needed in there, and his guys pulled it through. And Alex Caruso is now a multiple-time NBA champion, one with the Lakers, one with the Thunder. Guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, this man's a journeyman, and he really found his home in OKC, and he's an NBA champion now. It's a cool moment, and it shouldn't really be surprising to anyone that next year's Vegas odds have OKC favored to win it all, followed by Cleveland, then New York. It's the teams that look like they'll be healthiest going into it, and also people talked about OKC. I talked about them all year. Before the season started, I said OKC would be in the finals. I didn't think they would win. I thought they would lose to Boston in the finals, but I did say they were the best team in the West and they would win. Here was my thing. They were untested. Going into the playoffs, losing in the second round last year, they were untested, and I wanted to see how they could do, how they could handle that finals pressure. And I just want to say no one can say that about them anymore. They are not untested. They're a tested team. They came through and they won an NBA championship. So next year, when they're dominating and they're playing how they're playing, no one's going to look at that Thunder team and say they're untested. We're going to look at them and we're going to say they're tested, they're proven, and SGA is possibly the best player in the league. He's up there. He has to be him or Jokic right now. And it's just interesting. We're going to have this same narrative on younger players like Brunson, like Doncic, like Donovan Mitchell, until they go out, Victor Wembanyama, until they go out and they do what SGA did, joining Nikola Jokic. These guys are the future stars, Anthony Edwards, but this narrative's going to be out until someone goes out there and grabs it and takes control like SGA. SGA really offensively was unstoppable nearly in these finals, and I don't want to hear about foul baiting, this or that, because this man got the buckets when he needed. He got them when he wanted, and he had plus 20 every single game in the finals, for being the first time ever in the NBA Finals for him. Not only was he regular season MVP, he was conference finals MVP and NBA Finals MVP. SGA is freaking for real, and he has right to be up there. It's him and Jokic, 1 and 2, and I don't think there's an order right now. I think right now it's they're 1 and 2, and 1A and 1B. I don't think it's 1 and 2 actually. I think it's 1A, 1B, and I think on any given night it can be either one of them being the best player in the league. And also, shout out Jalen Williams. I mentioned he's the number 2 guy, but everybody says it's SGA's team. OKC don't go as far as they did if Jalen Williams does not do what Jalen Williams did in this series. We saw that 40-point game from him. We saw 20-plus last night. It's just shout out to the man that it's all uncredited what he's doing. The work he's doing doesn't get talked about, and I think that's unfortunate, but I think he's going to be talked about a lot more because now he is that small forward NBA champion, number 2 on the best team in the NBA. So, congrats to the Thunder, and also just one last thing on the Pacers, props to them. They went way further than people expected, and I would count them out for this upcoming season. I don't think you should count them out. I think they got a taste of it, and I think they want it even more. And if they're playing good enough to get Halliburton back maybe late in the season, then, hey, Halliburton's fresh. He's not going to be as used for minutes as much, and his body's going to be 100%. Who knows what one day can make it? Could be Indiana's year next year. You can't count them out because you know they can get there now. They can do it. And no matter what, props to them on the amazing season. I've heard this all the time, like for the playoffs, and most of it's right. People say that they were not favored in any series. I think it's debatable whether they were favored against Milwaukee. I think it was 50-50 in my opinion. But they weren't favored against Cleveland. They weren't favored against New York, but they beat both of them. And they weren't favored against OKC, and they took them to 7. So nobody should ever doubt the Indiana Pacers again, and I love what Rick Carlisle did for that squad. Getting to other news that happened yesterday on Game 7 of the NBA Finals Day, we also saw Kevin Durant get traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets. First-round pick, 4 second-round picks, Dillon Brooks, Jalen Green. Not bad haul for Phoenix. I've heard rumors that they could be looking trade Jalen Green, which doesn't make sense to me because he's the best thing you got in this deal. So I don't really get that. He did struggle in the playoffs, but I still think Jalen Green's a super good, very talented, young future star in the NBA. So I would look trade him. I would look try piece him in with Bradley Beal. Not Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. Use one of them as your guard, as your point guard. See if maybe Jalen Green you can get point guard skills out of. We saw them try it with Booker. It didn't really work all that well. But maybe you can get a point guard out of one of those two. You need to get off of that Bradley Beal contract, no matter if it's trade or buyout, and then move on. And then you have so many guards on the roster, shooting guards on the roster, and look to get a point guard. So just in case whoever you build as the point guard can't really do it, you get a stable point guard. And I think you have a good team. Then you have that toughness Dillon Brooks brings. You have whoever you draft with the 10th pick, which is a pretty good draft this year. And, just some good role players. You have Grayson Allen. I mean, you have guys around on this squad. I think you can I don't think they're going to be competing for a championship, but you could make some noise. You could be a play-in team. And you could encourage players to go play for Phoenix because it's a good place to play in. So yeah, I don't think it was a bad return for Kevin Durant. And then on the Houston side, Houston, in my opinion, they go to possibly the toughest competition out west for the Oklahoma City Thunder. This was a really good young team that was number 2, already number 2 in Western Conference. Gave OKC all they could handle in regular season. Really good games between them two. And now you got that finisher. Now you got that closer in Kevin Durant. You also kept Amin Thompson. You kept Fred VanVleet. You have Taro East and Jabari Smith. You have Alperen Şengün. This is a roster in Houston. And I really, really think Houston has a shot to compete for a championship, and also KD's really good with structure. We saw that with Steve Kerr. We saw that with Scotty Brooks in OKC, and Russell Westbrook and Kendrick Perkins. Guys like that kept the team in line. And with that, KD went off and dominated and was the best player on one of the best teams, and they either almost won a championship or won one in Golden State. There was a lot of structure with Ime Udoka as the head coach, and he's re-upped. And then also re-upped is Steven Adams, former teammate of OKC, KD made it to the NBA Finals. So it's just, I think, a huge trade for Houston, and I could see Houston really giving OKC a run for their money. It's going to be interesting to see what else happens. We saw Chris Middleton picked up his player option, $33 million, I believe, to stay in Washington, but I believe that's because no one else at this point of his career is probably going to give him $33 million. So financially for himself, I get it. You're on a team that's not going to go nowhere, but you get to be the leader of the team. Maybe you have a sort of a comeback year for yourself, which is what you need. You get a lot more playing time. You get to do your thing. You get to lead this team. And then if you have a good enough year, maybe sign a vet minimum with a championship team and go for your second championship. But good deal for Chris Middleton. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of NBA news no matter what. Wednesday's episode, when we drop on Wednesday, will be a draft preview. We'll talk about the first round of the NBA draft, if there's any maybe stills in the second round to look at. And yeah, we'll go from there. It's going to be a fun time in the NBA. Free agency starts next month, so we're just getting started on the NBA. And also, we'll find out the things to talk about. We still have basketball going, whether we talk WNBA or Big 3. There's basketball still going, so show some respect to the WNBA and the Big 3 too. So a lot more basketball to come, and some fun things this summer with no basketball around, a chance to just talk, maybe digest the game, break down some plays, break down some styles of play that teams do. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun this summer. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned.